So, welcome. Really lovely to see you all, and I thank you for taking the time to be here. Everyone's so busy, but I hope this evening is interesting, that you find discover something new, and we're going to complete with a little meditation, and obviously just stay as long as you can, and just feel into what's right for you. And I'm going to share some information about Ayurveda to begin with. If you've got questions as I go along, that's absolutely fine. But I will do a question time at the end. And just to say, obviously, I'm recording this. This is going out to others in the group via YouTube. So just to be aware that if you share, you'll be on it. I could do my best to edit you out if you prefer not to, but obviously that sort of changes the flow of things. So if you're okay with that, then great. And if not, just put questions in the chat. So I just want everybody to feel comfortable. So as we begin, as always, I'm first going to just light a candle. And just like this for everybody here, taking this time to be with each other here, but also taking this time for ourselves. So just invite you to really put anything else down from the day and just be fully present here as much as you can. And if there's anyone in particular that you want to bring in to your thoughts, particularly anybody who's maybe having a bit of a rough time, or anyone that you feel could use a little bit more peace, love, anything, just bring them into your hearts right now. Lovely. Put that up there. Okay, so today I'm going to share a little bit more about Ayurveda, and what I would just like to clarify is that I don't know how much each of you knows about Ayurveda, and probably the main way we hear about it is about these wonderful retreats that you can go to and have massage and protocols. And in a way, it's the Indian version of our medical, if you like, so that you can really have your well-being sorted in a very sort of bespoke sort of way. Ayurveda is a really huge body of work, and that is one part of the work. But the part of the work that I'm working with is very much our sort of lifestyle, daily ways that we can really support our well-being, but through the knowledge of Ayurveda. So it's just, it can be as simple as just different choices about what our day looks like, what we bring in, what we leave out, and just really quite a mindful approach. And what I love about it is by bringing all these gradually different aspects in, because it doesn't have to be overwhelming, it can be so simple that we really get to know for ourselves even on a deeper level somehow. And that way we really understand more and more what might be out of balance, and ways that we can really support ourselves to stay in balance and feel as good and vibrant as we can, no matter what we're facing in life. Because obviously we'll all be faced, that's the fullness of life, isn't it? So what I'm going to be sharing today is very simple daily things that you can weave into your life without some sort of overhaul. And we're focusing on the Pitta dosha. So just a little overview for anybody that doesn't know that in Ayurveda we very much look at ourselves as nature. So what I mean by that is that there are 5 aspects, which are earth, water, fire, space and air. And Ayurveda sees those elements within us as well as being in nature and all around us, so that everything in the world is made up of those elements. And when it's looking at us as humans, those elements are divided into 3 doshas. And the 3 doshas are Vata, which is space and air. So that's connected to movement and lightness. And so the Vata in us is all to do with expression and being able to adapt quickly and things like that. Then there's the Kapha dosha, which is earth and water. And the Kapha in us, or particularly if you're Kapha dominant, is very sort of Mother Earth. So if you think of earth and water, it's quite sort of heavy and stable and quite slow. But very sort of nurturing and loving, so it's that aspect. And then there's the Pitta dosha. And the Pitta dosha is connected to fire and water. So that is the fire within us. It's connected to our digestion, our passion. And in balance, it's wonderful because it's that aspect that really gives us drive and the ability to see things through, get things done. But when it's out of balance, you can imagine there's like too much fire in the system. And we can get really overheated, inflamed. It can affect us emotionally, so we can feel that emotionally, and we can have a really short fuse, amongst other things. And it can also affect us physically. And tendencies, if somebody's got a Pitta imbalance, is that the Pitta is connected to the eyes. So often if you have anything going on with your eyes, or particularly if you've got maybe bloodshot eyes, something like that, that will be Pitta. To do with the skin. So you can imagine too much heat in the body, the skin often is the first to show it. So if there's any sort of skin rashes and things like that, that's to do with Pitta. And other things like that. And just generally this sort of feeling like there's too much heat in the body. So even like hot flushes. So, when we can talk about different times in our life. If you think of being pre-menopausal, menopausal, and even by keeping an eye on the Pitta dosha can help to lessen those fluctuations, because it's all to do with balance. Okay. So why I'm focusing on Pitta today is that we're in the summer season, and so in Ayurveda it makes sense the summer is the Pitta season because it's connected to when in the season is the hottest time. And I know in England we don't always get that, although we did last week, didn't we? And I think we've got it coming up again, so I'm going to go into that at the end, a few sort of real quick fixes if you're getting really sort of hot under the collar. But the other thing I want to share is that although when we're working with Ayurveda, we're working seasonally, what we also there are other aspects we need to bear in mind, and that is, firstly, what our own constitution is. And what I mean by that is that we each have like a blueprint, which in Ayurveda we call the Prakriti. And that is a balance of the doshas. So how much Pitta, Vata and Kapha you have in your being as your sort of real blueprint, like who you are, if you like. And so this blueprint is who you were when you were born and who you are when you're in your element. Okay, so that combination is really, really important. And so just for example, just to try and make that a bit more understandable, I just use myself. My predominant dosha is the Pitta dosha. So because I've got more Pitta than anything else, my Pitta dosha is probably going to go out fastest because there's more of it. Okay, so just for myself, I know simple things that if I have cooling foods in my diet, generally I can much more easily keep tabs on that. Okay, so that's just a really sort of simple way of looking at it. So that is the first thing that can be important when we're beginning to look at it more individually, if you like. You know, there's a general, but then obviously what matters is what's going on for each of us. So then the second thing to be aware of is what we call the Vikriti. And that is what is currently out of balance. Okay. And this can actually, it can fluctuate during the day, but generally it will be, you know, certain things will be out of balance and then we can do certain things and we come back into balance. Now, when we're in tune with ourselves, we'll just be doing that anyway. But the way the world is, we can be so disconnected to what we really need or what we feel or whatever, that actually these imbalances can go some ways and unnoticed, that we can think, oh, I don't feel quite right, but oh, we'll just keep going, you know. And that's fine, because usually we can find our way to balance, but it's not so great when we don't find our way. And what's great about Ayurveda, when you begin to really look through this lens, there's just a simple way of understanding, oh, I'm feeling like that. That must be this. What can I do about it? Okay. So that's the second thing. And just to say about that, so I'll use myself as an example. So I'm predominantly Pitta, and then I've got quite a lot of Kapha, not so much Vata. And even so, I can have times when I might have a Vata imbalance, I might have a Kapha imbalance, I might have all three imbalances. And this is normal, this is life, you know, but the thing is trying to not make it extreme. And just to give, I don't want to overload you, but just to give one example, it's sort of easy to have any imbalance the way life is at the moment. But just for example, if we've experienced trauma, or even just the world as it is outside, and you know you hear the news and everything, that can very easily bring in a Vata imbalance, because Vata is to do with too much air and space. So if we get anxious, that's a Vata imbalance, just for example. So I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to give sort of too much information. So basically what I've said so far is the Prakriti, who you are, is important. And then the Vikriti, what's out of balance in the moment. And then the next thing that's important is the environment. So we look at the season. So as I say, right now we're in the Pitta season. So if we keep having weather like we had last week, it's quite natural that many of us could feel this build-up of internal heat and feel a Pitta imbalance and think, you know, and as I say, this can show as this internal heat in the body. It can show as having a really short fuse, and obviously it depends what's going on in your life and so on. But the other thing really important to say is that, as I've mentioned earlier, that also the way the world is, it's quite Pitta provoking. So the things I'm going to share with you today aren't only limited to summer, because things like the whole fact that life is so much sort of built up that we've got to achieve and do this and do that and busy and on a screen, they're all things that can really raise our Pitta or our Vata also. And so really the tips I'm going to share today, any time that you're just noticing this sort of internal build-up of heat, these things can be really helpful. Okay. So just before I go on, because already I've sort of landed quite a lot of information there, is it making sense? Has anyone got any questions? I mean, some of you may know this already. But I always found at the beginning when I was learning Ayurveda that I almost needed to hear it a few times, because for me it felt quite a different way of looking at things, really. And any questions? No. Okay. So what is important then is, if we are in the Pitta season, and if we are wanting to keep an eye on not getting overheated, like even if we aren't, because that's the really important thing about what I'm sharing here, is these things can also be preventative. So first we work to heal. So if we've got too much heat in the body, we work to pull that back, to come back to balance. And then once we're near a balance, when you know the things that are going to help that, you can bring them in. Like I was saying about with me knowing about Pitta, I think, if I have this, this and this, I don't even think about it now. That's just part of my diet. And that's what's so lovely about it. It doesn't have to be difficult. So I'm going to talk to you about food, the ways with food and nutrition that we can really calm and cool the Pitta dosha first, because that's one thing I work with a lot, because I found for myself and my clients, it can be really, it can change your whole physiology actually. And you can sort of think, that doesn't sound very sort of groundbreaking. But if you keep to things and you keep gradually supporting your system with what it really needs at that particular time, then your system really is going to respond very well, because your system really just wants what it needs. So the whole key is, well, how do you know what it needs? And that's what I'm going to share a little bit of with you today. So with, I'm just going to grab my notes there. So if we are looking at the Pitta dosha, there are certain qualities that, so in Ayurveda, we are looking at qualities. Okay, so in many ways you could look at it a bit like vibrational medicine, really. And so what I mean by that is that if your system, just for example, is too hot, what's the obvious thing that you're going to need? You're going to need to cool it. Okay, so it's just to do with that balance of you do the opposite. And that sounds so ridiculously simple, doesn't it? But it actually works. So if we're just looking at that first just aspect of heat, simply by bringing in cooling foods into your diet, you can begin to bring the heat down. But what's important is knowing which foods are cooling. And when I say cooling, it's not cold foods. And in fact, Ayurveda much prefers warm foods and cooked foods, because once foods are cooked, they're much easier to digest. And really, Ayurveda is all about digestion, and that we have really great digestion so that our energy is strong, and that's the way we can feel most healthy, that not only food is digested well, but life experiences. So I'm going to just share with you today a few cooling foods that, if you're wanting to balance Pitta, can be really helpful to bring into your diet. And does anybody want to share any that they know of? Does anybody know of any? No? So most cooling foods are coconut. So any form of coconut is going to be really cooling to the system. And coconut's particularly beneficial because it also hydrates really well. So when we have those really overheated spells, to have some sort of drink with coconut is actually going to really hydrate you much more quickly than anything else. And that's one thing that I feel is a bit misunderstood, and that people could think, that to stay hydrated, that we just need water. But actually, water's not going to just do it. To really hydrate yourself deeply, to have things like coconut is actually going to nourish you in a much more deeper level. Okay. Then if we look at vegetables, things like cucumber, it's quite obvious. I'm sure most people would have guessed cucumber. Cucumber, really hydrating, really nourishing for the Pitta dosha. Fennel, coriander, and then all the really sort of sweet fruits, so things like grapes, peaches, apricots, those, and berries, really, really nourishing for the Pitta dosha. And then if we continue to look at the qualities, so I've simply looked at hot and cold. So another quality of Pitta is that it's quite light. So if you can imagine, the fire can be quite light. And that's part of that sort of short fuse. So the opposite of light, obviously heavy. So the other thing that Pitta really benefits from is very grounding food. So this is often the sweet foods. And if we're looking at sweet foods, the sweet in Ayurveda isn't sweet as we know it, sugar. It's very earthy food. So we're looking at any roots. They're grown in the ground, but that also means that they are very rooting. So carrots, beetroot, potatoes, even sweet potato, that sort of thing is going to be really, really grounding and supportive for the Pitta dosha. And also things like rice and oats, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to go into all the qualities because I'm aware of time. But also to say, so there's one thing about bringing things in, but the other thing is what do we possibly need to omit? And I'm sure you could all guess that's going to be the heating, sort of spicy, hot, pungent food. Because by eating that can put fire, add to the fire. So and that doesn't mean, because I think often people sort of think, oh gosh, my food's going to be really bland if I can't have nice sort of spices and things. But actually, within Ayurveda, there are really lovely combinations that you can bring in that are very spicy but not heating. So I'll share with you now things like I mentioned coriander, cumin. Cumin's not too spicy. Turmeric, even in small amounts. And interestingly, curry leaves are cooling. You'd think curry leaves were heating. So again, it's just this knowledge of knowing which ones are going to cool and which ones are going to heat. Obviously things like black pepper, chili, onions, garlic, things like that is going to heat the system. And the whole thing is, it's not that you can't have those things, it's just that if you notice you've got internal heat, like if I'm working with a client, just for a period of time, we would be gradually omitting those things, and then you can weave them back in. So it's not, that's what I love about Ayurveda. It's not like, oh, you're not, it's not restrictive, you can't have this, and it's all very sort of gradual. And it's about feeling in to how your body's feeling, and there'll be a point that you'll just know, oh yeah, no, I'm feeling really balanced, I haven't got that internal heat again, or whatever it is going on. So this is just one example. So, and then the other things that are really supportive of Pitta are the astringent things. So any sort of leafy greens, things like rocket, watercress, because they're also going to really support the blood and cleansing, and that's all to do with Pitta as well. So food and nutrition wise, that I'm just going to keep that there because I want to move on because of time. So just also to say, within Ayurveda there are practices that can really support to keep us cool, and so that can be simple things like just the act of meditation is going to help us to feel much more peaceful and calm. So it's just a simple thing. And there's certain pranayama, which I'm not going to do today, but there are really lovely pranayama which are sort of cooling breaths that you can simply cool the system. If we had more time I'd go into it, but I'm not going to go into that today. And simple things like in the summertime, often you don't feel. I mean, Abhyanga is a real thing in Ayurveda, which is where you do self massage with oil, and it tends to be more of a winter thing. But if you would like to do that in the summer, then the oil to do that with is coconut oil, and again, that's really going to sort of soothe and cool the system, because obviously you're bringing the coconut oil in. So again, that can be a really lovely supportive thing, because just that act of gentle self-massage is so supportive, and in fact very supportive for our Vata dosha and the settling. So that would be another way of really supporting balance. And then I'm just going to touch on the oils, as they can be really supportive for as well. And right now, if we're looking at possibly one of the most cooling oils, if we're looking at cooling, then peppermint is going to be really your go-to. And peppermint is wonderful because if we're overheated and we're a bit sort of not clear-headed, should we say, then peppermint is wonderful for that, because it really sort of somehow breaks through. And that's the thing about their oils, it sort of bypasses that thinking mind. And so all of a sudden it can sort of bring this lovely shift, especially working on certain points, which I'll be going into in August, anyone on the aromatic soul journey. And so that is really lovely for cooling. And the other oils that we're actually working with here in Ayurveda, for those on the aromatic soul journey, next month is, in fact this month, is sweet orange. And so Orange is not so much cooling, but it's really lovely for what I'm talking about, the sweetness of Pitta. Because another thing about Pitta, when it gets out of balance, it can be a bit it's that real critical voice in you, and that's real, sort of almost telling yourself off or thinking, oh, I know I've got to work harder, is the whole Pitta thing. So the sweetness of the orange, which is all about sort of joy and lightness and innocence, is really, really supportive to really ease some of that intensity, because that's the thing, it's about intensity. We get too intense. So sweet orange is really lovely for that. And then we've just worked with lavender, and again, lavender is wonderful in different ways for the different doshas, but for the Pitta dosha, it can really support this sort of calming, and it's quite cooling, and really allow us to sort of come down a peg or two in that way of that, alleviating this intensity of the heat of Pitta. So there's just a few examples. And then also vetiver is good. So vetiver is a very rooting oil, but again, if you're sort of feeling that you're too in the head and too heated in the head, then vetiver can be really, really grounding. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there because I think that's quite a lot of information, and we're sort of on time. But I'd just like to allow a bit of time now if anybody would like to ask any questions about anything I've shared or anything else Ayurveda related. Welcome any questions if you like. Mary, do you want to just unmute?
Yeah, I've heard some of the things that you've said before, but I just feel it's maybe it's because where I am, just in nature, as I say, I'm in Oslo in Norway, and the skies are blue and sort of different. It's not so congested as London and so. But I feel it's really. I know you've been saying, but the balancing of feeling heat, like I felt heat in the sun there, and my skin has become a little bit inflamed, and I sort of feel a pressure, like I just had this idea of blood pressure and internal pressure, and pressure that just those things, even when I'm being gentle, and then the idea that just that if you're hot, have cool things. I know you say it all the time. If you're dry, get hydrated. Not sort of rubbing cream on, but like from within. That coconut can do it. And even then, I just feel I want to thank you for the simplicity that you're getting through to me anyway, with about very complex matters. Even the idea that I may have that this might be connected with a pitta imbalance. I know you've said it and I've heard it before, but it's really getting through a little bit more to me, and I want to thank you for that. That it's like common sense knowledge, and it seemed to be becoming more and more simple. If I can allow myself to, follow it. And I think that you're helping me to do that, and I'm grateful for that, Corinna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head, because I think as I explain it, sometimes it can feel it's like in life we've overcomplicated things, really. And it's like, unless something's really complicated, it's not going to work, or it's not going to this, or it's not going to that. But what is sort of, I think, a bit astounding about Ayurveda, it's so logical. It's just like, it's so simple, it's so logical, and it actually does make a difference. It works.
It's
So,
kind of, it's kind
but
of,
I think you have to hear it many times. I know even in my training, I would have to keep hearing it, because it's almost like my brain had to unlearn what it had learnt to be
yeah,
able to just see this absolute simplicity of what was actually possible. And the other thing I want to pick up on blood pressure is to do with the Pitta dosha. So you
Mm.
can imagine, too much internal heat can raise your blood pressure. So it's that logical. So what you're saying, and this build up of feeling heat inside, I've experienced in my life, and I thought at that time, when I knew nothing about Ayurveda, that I was anxious. I wasn't anxious. I had too much heat in my body. And
Mm.
so you begin to understand things in a different way. So thank you for sharing that, because it's really
Yes,
important.
thank you. I really do feel it now. And, I'm recovering from gallbladder surgery. So we're all going through things, and also life and, feeling that things that used to work and that I'm interested in aren't anymore. It's like the same old, something like that. And, it's quite, I mean, we're all going through things, I'm sure. But I just feel that I want to say I appreciate the surprising simplicity that is quite a relief, to tell the truth. It's really tough going, you know, and battling with, drugs and the medical things and having to cope with it all. And, my one system gets overloaded. So this idea that that food is the medicine we need. I know it's been said everywhere, but not everywhere. But food is our medicine. Peace and restorative, being able to restore and to digest even sweet orange. Like what a lovely thing.
Thank you. No,
So anyway, I want to thank you because it's sort of getting through to me, and I've been open to it, and I'd say, yeah, I know about all that, but it's like a different knowledge, and it's the biologic, the logic of the body, and the logic of the psychologic. There's a logic, an understanding, and that's reassuring.
and I think in my experience, it's about layers with Ayurveda. So you get it, and then, as you're saying, you get it on another level, and then you get it another level, then you begin to bring it into your diet, and you really get it because your body's beginning to feel different, and then you go another level, and so it's not a quick. Anyone who's asking for a quick fix thing, this is not it. Okay. Because it really is about this relationship with yourself, that as
Mm.
you begin to bring things in, I mean, it can be really exciting, because you think, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I love pomegranate. And like, pomegranate is just like heaven to the Pitta dosha. And now that, it's like, I love a pomegranate because of what it's doing to me. So it sounds funny, but it can be really quite exciting when you begin. Well, I often say it's like it is a different relationship with food. It's a totally different relationship, and just in the preparation of things and the cooking of things, and really allowing all the aromas to seep in and everything. It's a lovely thing. Lovely. I'm aware of time. Any other questions, anybody? Yeah. So hopefully you've just let. Oh, Bev. Yeah. Do you
Hi,
want to just
thank you,
unmute?
Corinna. It's really
Thank you.
lovely to hear all those foods. And I think I may have brought up the point before that my naturopathic friend made me look at the blood type diet. And
Yes.
for me, as an AB positive, coconut is one of the sort of negative foods. But I also think all the sort of fruity things on here feel too sweet for me for some
Yeah.
reason, like coconut, grapes, peaches, even sometimes apricots. Um, which, they just kind of sometimes are too sweet for my stomach. But then you've got the rice and oats and all those roots vegetables, which always are fine for me, like carrots and beetroot and the potatoes and sweet potatoes. And on the blood type diet, they're also fine as well. So I don't know. Am I getting my systems confused if I'm trying
No.
to follow that
So,
one?
so no, it's a good question, Bev. So, firstly, I don't know anything about the blood to be able to comment on that. So I'm not knowledgeable in that at all. But secondly, what that's sort of saying to me is that you haven't got a Pitta imbalance, possibly, and possibly you're not Pitta dominant.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that you're quite possibly more Kapha or Vata dominant. Okay.
Right.
And if that's the case, then it's going to be much more natural that you will want different fruits than the ones I'm suggesting for Pitta. And with the coconut and thing like that, so the thing about Ayurveda, rather than, so we would give a system, I don't want to refer to the blood ducts because I don't know about that, but so we would give a system and sort of say, well, these foods are really supportive for Pitta, these for Vata, these for Kapha. And then, however, what then the really important thing is feeling what's right for you. So in a way, what you're saying about what you enjoy or what your body feels good from eating is always the overriding thing. Because at the end of the day, all we're really looking for is what foods are going to really deeply nourish, nurture you and give you the optimum digestion. That's the only thing that matters, whatever combination that is for you. But it's only by beginning to know, so now you all here know that the foods I've mentioned, fennel, coconut, coriander, when you're feeling heat, they're going to be supportive. There's another set for Vata, there's another set for Kapha. So once you have that knowledge, any time you can sort of feel to yourself, okay, how am I feeling today? What do I need? And then know, what to pull in. So I would say, hearing what you're saying, it sounds like you're very intuitive to what is right for you anyway, that you're very in tune with yourself. And I would say most probably you're going to be more of a Kapha Vata constitution, so not needing to be so mindful about bringing those particular Pitta balancing food in. And what's interesting, you mentioning about the rice and oats and the root vegetables being more palatable for you, all of those are equally good for a Vata dosha. So if you've got quite a lot of Vata, that's going to make sense there, if you see what I mean.
Right. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. It
Yeah.
makes me think I need to look at the other doshas
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which we all do, because I want to be clear, we've all got all three doshas in. So ultimately we all really need, to be able to work in this way, the knowledge of each of them. But then, as I said earlier, that whatever your predominant is, because you've got more of it, is that, it's this, oh my gosh, it's so simple thing again. Oh, I've got more of this one. So guess what? That's going to go out of balance first. Or I've experienced this in my life, so that's currently out of balance now. Different things will make our Vikriti, whatever's out of balance, change. So obviously we keep an eye on that, and then whatever's happening in the seasons.
Thank you. That's a good answer. Thank you.
Found that very helpful. Thanks, Beverly, what you've said about me too. So I just want to say it's very helpful what you've said, about, I also have this idea that maybe even in the morning I might be with one of them out, and then in the afternoon something else is gone. So the idea that, like, I could feel like I want to have that for breakfast, but actually when I get down to it, I don't want it at all. So there's this like fine tweaking. I found that extremely helpful, your questions and what you've answered. Thank you. For me at the moment with my little whatever, I'm trying to come back to my own balance, but it's like that. But it's like moment by moment. So that's thrilling, really, because it's like I don't have to write up a diet for a week. I can see what I want today.
No,
Maybe
as
even tomorrow morning.
So as I say, Mary, exactly, that's the overriding thing, and that's when it gets quite it's exciting. I mean, I'll share with you that this morning I decided I needed a grapefruit, and I was so excited eating my grapefruit because I really needed a grapefruit. And normally I have porridge in the morning, and it's such a silly, simple thing, but I was like, oh, because I just needed something that was gonna cut through things and move things along, you know. But it's so what you're saying is right, and also, yeah, you'll. I mean, I found it a really exciting journey, really, and to. I mean, it's a bit like the way I talk with the oils. You get new best friends. So my best friend at the moment is pomegranate. So, you know, especially when they then make you feel better. It's great. Any other questions? No, lovely. Okay, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so we'll leave it there. And then, how's everyone for time? Would you like a little meditation to complete? How's everyone? Yeah, yeah, lovely. Before I do that, I just want to say, most probably I'm going to have a little break from the gatherings until September, so just take a bit of time off. But I'm updating the website, so as soon as I know where the dates are, then I will let people know. But just to say that now, and pick up again in September when we will be heading into the Vata time, well, sort of October, particularly Vata time. So yeah, be sharing more of that there. Okay, so I'm just going to take a moment and have a little drink. If you just want to get comfortable wherever you are, just however you want to be for a meditation, I'll just take a moment now. I will keep it fairly short, but if we'll probably go till about 1:15, something like that. If you have to go before then, thank you for being here. But if you begin the meditation, it'd be nice if you can see it through just for yourselves as well. And before we begin, because I was tuning in to think, oh, what sort of meditation do we need today? Has anyone got any particular feelings of what could be helpful today, meditation-wise? Any thoughts, feelings? Okay, so I think what I am going to do, because this is a new thing that I'm possibly starting, is I'm actually going to do a little meditation with sweet orange. So I'm going to see how it is that we begin to do meditations with the oils. Is everyone okay with that? Yeah. Okay, so you don't have to have your sweet orange there. If anyone's got it and wants to get some, you can. I'll give you a moment. But and it's not just about sweet orange, it's about the energy of sweet orange, really. So, yeah, absolutely don't have to have her handy. I think she's a her. Let me just... Okay. Okay, so... Lovely. So if you've got oils, please do maybe have a little smell of your sweet orange. Lovely, lovely. Okay, so I'm just going to invite you to settle. In fact, I'm going to have a little smell of mine as well. So if you just let all I've shared just filter through and let it go, and just really feel your body and just find somewhere really, really comfortable to be. So if you can be supported, whether it's sitting up, or if you want to lay down, you can. Just get as comfortable as possible. Just really feel your body. And feel your breathing. And just really allow yourself to really become as comfortable as you can. It's nothing you need to do. Just simply be here now. So as you rest there, just really feel the support of whatever you're on. If you're laying, just feel the support of your back, how you're being held by the sofa, the bed, the floor, however you are. And if you're sitting, just feel the support of the chair, the sofa, whatever you're sitting on. And wherever your feet are, whether they're on the floor or resting, just tune into your feet for a moment and really feel a grounded connection with the earth. And just feel the support of Mother Nature and something so much bigger than you that's really got your back. Just really see if you can lean into that and surrender into that and let everything go. And just feel your breathing. And just feel your breath in through your nose. And out through your nose. And in through your nose. And out through your nose. And just allow whatever's happening in you just to be however it is. If you feel tiredness, that's okay. If there's any aches and pains, just let them be. And just really come inward to yourself. And if at all possible, just let go a little bit more. So now I'm going to invite you into a little guided visualization. Just going to invite you to imagine that you're standing on the edge of a grove, an orange grove. And just feel wherever you are, whatever country, and just imagine the rows of orange trees stretched gently in the sunlight. Just notice the leaves and how glossy and green they are. Notice the branches, heavy with round, orange, ripe fruit. And notice the blossom as well. And begin to really imagine and to be able to smell the exotic, exquisite fragrance that comes from the sweet orange tree. So just begin to walk amongst them and feel the warm earth beneath your feet. And the dapple sun on your skin. And the quiet. And just feel this sense of freedom as you wander amongst the trees in nature and this beautiful fragrance that's filling you up. So just allow this sweetness to fill you and feel the brightness and the lightness. And just allow this delightful energy to really soften any places that have been really tight and held. So allow this energy of innocence and joy and freedom to dance around you and within you. And you may even feel that you want to dance or skip amongst the trees. Just let yourself be as you want to be. And just feel this energy moving down to your chest, into your belly, and really softening and softening, and bringing a lovely peace to your being. And just invite you to really feel into this feeling of this innocence and joy for no particular reason, just because you can, and it is. So as you're there in this lovely grove, Just really take a look around you. Feel how it feels. You might feel the warmth of the sun. You might like to feel that you're really basking without a worry in the world. And I invite you to really feeling into this feeling of freedom and innocence and simple joy and pleasure. And it's allowed. And just as you walk along, really feel your feet on the floor. Feel your connection to the sky. And really feel your lightness of being. And this wonderful sense of freedom. And there's nothing you have to do, and nothing that you have to be. You can be exactly as you are. So, if you each stay with yourselves, we're soon to be completing meditation. So you might like to take a last look round, last smell of the beautiful fragrance. Last feeling of what it feels to be within this grove. And know that you can come back to it anytime you like, because these feelings are within you. And very gently take your time, but when you're ready, come back to the edge of the grove and come walk out the way that you came in. you gradually become more aware of your body and yourself in the room where you are. Know that we're completing the meditation. And very gently, when you're ready, have a good stretch or wiggle your fingers and toes. And each take your own time. But when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes.